and his also interaction with the political authority and the kind of troubles he suffered as a result of that. And today, inshallah, I was planning to talk about Imam Shafi'i today, but I thought just to be consistent with our coverage of their life is to talk a little bit about their methodology or about the manhaj. And this is what makes them unique, that they have their own understanding, their own way of ijtihad. This is what makes them different from other schools of thoughts. So, inshallah, today we'll talk briefly, inshallah, and I hope you will not find this boring, talk about some technicalities and how Imam Malik, rahimahullah, built his methodology or his madhab. So, the manhaj of Imam Malik is based on the following: Quran and the Sunnah, and ijma', of course, if there's ijma' within the Sahaba on something. What's unique about Imam Malik is Amal Ahl al-Madinah. He considered that tradition, the custom of the people of Al-Madinah is hujjah, is a source of knowledge for him. And Al-Qiyas, we talked about Al-Qiyas when we talked about Imam Abu Hanifa, and Al-Istihsan and Al-Maslaha al-Mursala, or the public interest, Sadd al-Dhara'i', or blocking the means. And these are the main 7 sources of Imam Malik rahimahullah. And as you can see, Amal Ahl Madinah is what's very special to Imam Malik, and many people criticize him for that, including Imam Shafi'i did not follow him in this, his students, but he was very consistent on this, and we'll explain it a little bit, inshallah. Of course, Al-Quran Al-Kareem is the main source for any faqih. There's no doubt in this. The question for Imam Malik is not the accepting of Quran as the main source. Of course, all fuqaha will accept that. But when we talk about takhsis, the concept of takhsis means that if we have a general ruling in the Quran, can the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ particularize this general ruling in Al-Quran Al-Kareem? This is actually what makes Imam Malik different from Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa, as you remember last time we talked about his manhaj, that he does not consider the akhbar or ahadith al-ahad, or ahadith narrated by few number of people, still the hadith authentic, but still called ahadith al-ahad, does not particularize the general ruling in the Quran Kareem. But for Malik is different, because between Malik and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam usually 4 narrators, right? So he does not accept hadith unless he's 100% sure this hadith is authentic, and this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. So, and for him, for Imam Malik, yes, he can particularize the general meaning of Al-Quran by a hadith al-ahad. So, talking about the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what's also unique about Imam Malik is, you know, the definition of the hadith sahih is ما رواه العدل الضابط عن مثله إلى منتهاه بلا شذوذ أو علة. So when you have a trustworthy person who has sharp mind narrated from someone like him, so all people in this chain of narration could be 5 or 6 or 7 people, all of them are trustworthy, all of them have sharp memory, they don't forget or they don't get confused. So if this happened, then this hadith is considered sahih, right? But we will find out that in the book of Malik and Muwatta, there are plenty of ahadith who are considered, number 1, mursal. Mursal means that sahabi is not mentioned. So Malik an Zayd an Sa'id ibn Musayyib an Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Sa'id ibn Musayyib, of course, not sahabi, right? So from Sa'id ibn Musayyib directly to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So who is the sahabi? It must be Abu Hurairah or Ibn Abbas or Ibn Umar, or someone of the sahaba. It's not mentioned, and this hadith is considered mursal, right? That's one of the weak kind of narrations, because the Sahaba is not mentioned. But we will find in the Muwatta of Malik some mursal ahadith. And also, we will find in the book of Malik al-Muwatta also some ahadith that's considered munqati' al-isnad. So munqati' al-isnad means one of the narrators is not there. So Az-Zuhri, for example, he quotes one of the Sahaba. So, but Az-Zuhri did not meet the Sahaba. So there must be someone between Az-Zuhri and. Yet this hadith is called da'if, or because munqati', it's disconnected, right? But although this hadith is considered da'if, but Imam Malik also accepted some of these hadith as sahih, and we'll explain why. Not only that, sometimes we find even what's called balaghat. Balaghat means Malik says Rasulullah said so and so. So you have 4 or 5 people between Malik and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he dropped all of them and he says, Balaghani, I have heard that Rasulullah said so and so. Also, we can find in the book of Malik al-Muwatta what's known as majhul, unknown. For example, you will find a hadith narrated on Malik, on Nafi', on one of the Ansar. One of the Ansar, who is this person? His name is not known. Rajul min al-Ansar, a man from al-Ansar, said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did so and so, or said so and so. So why is that? All these kind of hadith are considered part of the da'if. The mursal, the munqati', the balaghat, or riwayat al-majhul. Majhul, someone we don't know. Many ulama, including Imam Abu Zuhra and my teacher, Dr. Muhammad al-Biltagi, rahimahullah, the author of this book, they agreed that at the time of Malik, they were not paying so much attention to these strict technical conditions that you have to have in the hadith. Later on, in time of Bukhari, who died in 256 Hijri, they were very strict on this, because the time at that time was almost a century and a half or 2 centuries from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and many liars and many people who added things to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so they were more strict. But at the time of Malik, if he found out, if he feels comfortable, this hadith is authentic by so many other means, by hearing this from number of people, not only from one person, then he feels comfortable, it's authentic, then he quotes it and he uses this hadith. So for him, when he's comfortable, this is the authentic hadith, then he does not mind including it. What proves this criteria for Imam Malik is that many ulama of the hadith, when they try to examine all these kind of hadith that I just mentioned, they found out that there are different ways to prove that Malik was right. And as we mentioned yesterday, Malik was very strict when it comes to narrating the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So the ulama of the hadith later on, when they followed and they examined the authenticity of the hadith in al-Muwatta, they found out that most of them are very authentic. What are the criteria for Malik to accept the hadith of a person? There is a very famous statement that Imam Malik rahimahullah made, that he said that I have met 70 righteous people in Medina that I would love for them to make dua for me, but I will not accept their narration, their riwayah. Why is that? So why is that? As I just mentioned earlier, the definition of the authentic hadith is to have a chain of narration that's full of people who are trustworthy and they have sharp mind. If they're trustworthy, but sometimes they don't have this sharp memory, no, I will not accept. He's a trustworthy person. He even said that if there is no rain for the drought for a long period of time and people go and pray to Allah, Allah may subhanahu wa ta'ala bring the rain because of one of these people. But yet I will not accept his hadith. He's a very trustworthy person, very like a saint. You would love for him to make dua for you. You know, is wali of awliyaullah as-salihin. But a wali of awliyaullah as-salihin does not necessarily mean that he's qualified or smart enough or intelligent enough or his mind is sharp enough to remember the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was his criteria. Malik, one day he talked to one scholar about someone, his name Al-Utaf ibn Khalid, and he said that I heard that you accept the hadith of this person. He said, yes, we do. He's a trustworthy person. And Malik said, we don't take the hadith except from fuqaha. It's another criteria, it seems, that Malik says not only trustworthy and has a sharp memory, but he's also faqih. He has an understanding. He has fiqh. So that's how he was strict, rahimahullah. And also, of course, in addition to this, the rawi, or the one who narrates the hadith, should not be a leader or someone who calls for his own sect or his own ideas. When it comes to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, as I mentioned before, one of the main differences between Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, and this for us to understand, these are two great Imams, but the methodology of both are different, and therefore the outcome of the fatwa will differ. So Imam Abu Hanifa said, no, I will not particularize the general rulings in the Quran by hadith al-ahad. And as I mentioned before, hadith ahad could be authentic, but did not reach the level of authenticity of the mutawatir. Imam Abu Hanifa said, if it's mutawatir or mashhur, I will accept it, because this is also another form of wahy. It's a revelation. But when the hadith is still authentic, but ahad, it's narrated by few number of people, does not give me certainty, Abu Hanifa said. But for Malik, since he is sure this hadith is absolutely authentic, then he said, yes, this hadith is wahy, revelation, and the Quran is revelation, and I would particularize the general ruling of the Quran by this hadith that's known as hadith al-ahad. Hadith al-ahad. I hope this point is clear. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَاسْتَشْهِدُوا شَهِيدَيْنِ مِنْ رِجَالِكُمْ. You need to have two witnesses. Okay? So, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in one of the hadith that al-yamin ma'a shahida. If you have one witness, one trustworthy witness, what would you do in this case? Can the judge accept this? According to the hadith, if one trustworthy shahid, in addition to the yameen of the sahib al-haq, so you make a claim, you are the plaintiff, and the plaintiff, if the plaintiff made an oath, wallahi al-azim, this happens, you gave someone a loan, okay, and this someone denied that I did not take any loan from him. So you are the lender, you go to the judge. Is there any shahid? Yes, I have one person witness this. Okay, have you seen? Yes, I saw him giving him this amount of money as a loan. But this is just one shahid. Quran said two shahid, right? So now we have shahid. So the judge would accept one shahid in addition to the yameen of the plaintiff. He will ask him, would you made an oath by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you gave him this loan? He said, wallahi al-azim, I gave him this loan. In addition to one witness, that would be sufficient, according to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Malik said, this is not only a hadith, but we know this is what happened at the time of Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, and all these people, they did this. So it's not just the narration, it is also the practice of the Sahaba. Therefore, that's sufficient evidence for me that what's mentioned in the Quran is the ideal. If you have two witnesses, that would be excellent. But if you don't have two, you have one, then you add the yameen of the plaintiff. This will do. So Imam Malik, rahimahullah, accepted this. And this is obviously a particularization to the general order in Al-Quran Al-Kareem. Now maybe you get an idea about the difference of Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik. So for Imam Malik, if hadith ahad, he's sure it's strong enough, then yes, he followed it to particularize the general meaning. Abu Hanifa said, no, I will go with with what the Quran says. If the hadith is mutawatir or mashhur, I will, yeah, it's had the same level of authenticity like Quran. But ahad, no. Imam Malik, and of course we'll see Imam Shafi'i also, and of course, obviously Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, they said no, if the hadith is authentic and we know it is strong enough, then it is another form of wahy. So this also can particularize the general rules in Al-Quran al-Kareem. Can the Sunnah produce a rule that's not in the Quran at all? In other words, what is the role of the Sunnah of the Prophet? Does it only confirm what happened, what's mentioned in the Quran, or the Sunnah gives details of what's mentioned in the Quran, or the Sunnah can, in addition to that, initiate new rulings that never mentioned in the Quran? Imam Malik said, yeah, this can happen. And the example is, as we mentioned before, tahrim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, the woman that a Muslim man cannot marry. Your mother, your sister, your daughter, your aunt, maternal, paternal aunts, and so on and so forth. And to have two sisters as wives. You cannot marry a woman and her sister at the same time. Right? So now the Sunnah said, you cannot marry a woman and her aunt at the same time. Right? That's not mentioned in the Quran. Quran said, وَأَن تَجْمَعُوا بَيْنَ الْأُخْتَيْنِ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ. You cannot make jam'a between two sisters. You cannot marry two sisters at the same time. But if you marry a woman and then she died, and you can marry her sister later on. All right? So Imam Malik also believes that the Sunnah can initiate new rulings. That's not in Al-Quran Al-Kareem. Now, Imam Malik may refuse some hadith, and this also is very controversial. If this is a hadith and you know it's authentic, is there any way you can reject this hadith or not follow this hadith? Yes, as we mentioned about Imam Abu Hanifa, if there's a good reason. What could be a good reason? We mentioned that when we talked about Abu Hanifa. And according to Imam Malik, for example, he did not accept or follow the hadith that says if the dog licked your plate, then you have to wash it 7 times, one of which with dust. All right? So Imam Malik said, no, I will not follow this narration. By the way, he's not rejecting what the Prophet said. There's a big difference between the two. To say the Prophet said so, no, I'm not going to follow it. No, that's not the case. He would examine the riwayah itself. There's a big difference between what the Prophet said and what the narration said the Prophet said. Is this point clear? Okay, when the Prophet ﷺ says something, for the Sahaba who heard the Prophet ﷺ, for them it's 100% true. The Prophet said that because we have no doubt. But 5 generations down the road, you need to examine this authenticity, the authenticity of this narration. So it's not about rejecting the Sunnah or accepting the Sunnah. Everybody would accept the Sunnah. But they would reject one narration. Why is that? He has a logical reason. He said, this hadith contradicts what Al-Quran mentioned. What did the Quran say about this? Al-Quran says, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا أَمْسَكْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ يسألونك ماذا أحل لهم قل إحل لكم الطيبات وما علمتم من الجوارح مكلبين تعلمونهن مما علمكم الله فكلوا مما أمسكنا عليكم. Yani, in the old days, they don't have these, guns that they hunt with. What do? They train dogs, right? They train dogs. So the dog is trained. So when they see like a deer or a wild rabbit or whatever, and they say Bismillah, it's the Sunnah to say Bismillah and unleash the dog. And the dog runs and he knows what to do. Now, the dog goes and catch this prey, and sometimes he kills it. So what is the hukm there? No, this halal, absolutely. But with the time the owner of this dog goes to find this animal, it's already dead. Yeah, it's not dead, it's halal. It's not dead animal. Because this dog works like the knife. Right? You unleash the dog and the dog will hunt, and then you go. If you found this animal still alive, then you say Bismillah and slaughter it. But what if it's dead? The ulama said if the dog ate from this, he's not hunting for you, he's hunting for himself. Then he cannot eat this because this is considered dead animal, right? But if he just got it and never touched it after this, he's trained, he knows what to do, he knows his limits. Although he's hungry, he wants to eat it, but he's well trained, he's well disciplined. So in this case, it's halal to eat this animal, and you can give him a piece as a reward for him to eat, but it's yours, right? So Imam Malik said, if the Quran said that, the Quran says you can use the dog to hunt. So you are eating this animal. And of course, to kill this dog, he has to use his mouth and to bite and to have full control on this animal. So if you can't eat this, why is that we have to wash the plate if the dog licked this plate 7 times, including one that does? I would go with, so this is something common between Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, if you remember, right? So he has a good reason why he rejected this narration, not the sunnah of the Prophet. So to him, there is contradiction, and contradiction cannot happen between Quran and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, something related to fasting, when someone passed away without or before he fast the days that he could not fast. Let's say you were sick, right? And say, inshallah, we'll fast these 20 days. I could not fast 20, I only fast 10 days in Ramadan time, 20 days. So you died before you fast these 20 days. What happens? The ulama have 2 different opinions. One opinion says the wali, the inheritors, his sons or brothers or grandsons should fast on his behalf. Said no. Imam Malik said no. No, doesn't work this way. Why is that? He said because Al-Quran said, أَلَّا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. No one should bear the burden or the sin of someone else, right? And now we are putting this burden on someone else. So what's your fault? Is it your fault that you are his son? your dad did not do it? No. So he said obligations doesn't happen this way. So he rejected this narration because to him he's not certain this is what Rasulullah said. He's not certain this is what Rasulullah said. To put it in a clear way. Right. If he was 100% sure that this is what Rasulullah said, then he will follow it. Khalas. You don't make this analogy or compare this hadith with the Quran. Because Rasulullah received the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's always a good reason for someone not to accept a hadith. Also there was a nice story, another example. You know, after the battle, they collect all the animals, and the Prophet ﷺ would distribute these animals equally on the fighters. So what if someone, before this distribution happens, took like a camel or a cow and slaughtered it and ate it? Should we eat this or not? All right. There was a khabar or hadith that says that Rasulullah ﷺ saw this. Some people, the Sahaba did this before this distribution. They sacrificed one of these animals and they were cooking it. And Rasulullah said, according to the narration, that he told the Sahaba to throw these pots, or whatever in the pots, to throw them away. To throw them away. And this could be expensive. I mean, if you're talking about a cow or a camel, you're talking about tens of pounds of meat. People may eat it. So Imam Malik also said, no, I will not use or follow this, because generally in Islam you cannot waste a source of food, or you cannot just take food and throw it in the garbage, right? If it's halal food, maybe you want to give it to a poor person, but you don't throw it in the garbage like this. Okay, one important reason why Imam Malik would not accept a hadith is because of if it contradicts the amal of Ahl al-Madinah, the people of al-Madinah. To him, Imam Malik, this is his understanding, and he was very consistent with this. He said, we know the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ through the narration of the trustworthy people, and to him also through the practice of the people of Medina, because Rasulullah died in Medina. Okay, so the first generation Sahaba, all of them are trustworthy people, right? And they passed what they learned from the Prophet ﷺ to the second generation, to the third, and to Imam Malik's generation. So he said to me, what the people of Medina are doing, to me, that is even more authentic than some ahadith. Because a narration, it does not give you certainty as the practice of the people of Medina. I don't know if you know that according to Imam Malik's madhab, Salatul Taraweeh, you know how many rakahs? Huh? 8? 8, 28, 30, 36, any more? We're not an auction here. Oh yeah, it is 36 plus which to 39. He said, I found my people of Medina praying 39. This is what I found the people of Medina doing. How about the narration that says, Umar radiallahu anhu, when he appointed Ubay ibn Ka'b to lead the people, he told him to lead them with 11 rakahs. But there's another narration that Umar, later on, he told him to do 20 rakahs. And then became 39 rakahs. It's all about convenience. It's all about convenience. Because their Taraweeh is not like our Taraweeh. Their Taraweeh is very long, very long. It's quite long. We all debate the number, but we don't talk about the quality. So they, in the beginning, the ulama said there's no contradiction. The beginning, Umar told them to pray 11 because this is what Rasulullah used to do in Ramadan and outside of Ramadan. Always, as according to Aisha, Hadith al-Bukhari, the Prophet never prayed more than 11 rakahs in Qiyamul Layl, in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan. Very clear. And Aisha observes the Prophet ﷺ in his house so frequently, at least 7 years. She's living with the Prophet for 7 years. And she is very smart and very sharp, very, observant. And she said never more than, but she said in the same hadith, she said he would pray 4 rak'ah and don't ask about how good and beautiful they are. And take a break, and then he would pray another 4 and don't ask about how long and how beautiful they are. So Omar, according to the ulama who saw these narrations, and by the way, the narration of 11 is stronger than the narration of 20, by the way. Imam al-Albani said that the first narration is stronger than the second, and he considered the second narration to be shadh, when the thiqah contradicts those who are more trustworthy than him. Anyways, but the ulama said there's no contradiction, because in the beginning they used to pray 11 rakahs, but it was very, very tough on many people. So let's say you are reading let's say 10 juz in 8 rakahs. Would it be easier to pray or to recite 10 juz of Quran in 8 rakah or in 20 rakah? Which one is easier? In 20. Why? Because you would stand longer if you pray only 8, right? And this is what Rasulullah used to do. So he prays 8 rakahs, but it's very long. It's called Salatul Qiyam. The name is Qiyamul. Qiyam means standing, to stand. This is Qiyam, and this is Qu'ud or Julus. So we have Qiyam, Ruku' and Sujood. But the whole Salah is called Salatul Qiyam. Ya ayyuhal qumil layla illa qalil. Right? So Qiyam means that you stand longer. So in the other hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu, I think to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he described the Prophet's Salah. He said his Qiyam is very long, and his Ruku' is closer in length of his Qiyam, and his Sujood was as close in length than his Ruku'. But the Qiyam the longest, right? That's why it's called Salatul Qiyam. So they said that instead of standing for so long, many people cannot take it, you read the same amount of Quran but divide it into 20 rakah. So you have more Ruku' and Sujood and Tashahhud, and you may take a break in between. That's what's called Taraweeh. Taraweeh is a plural of Tarweeha. Tarweeha means to have some rest, right? Come from the word ruh. So Taraweeh means to have these short breaks. So praying 20 rakah is easier. So Omar said, well, you can read the same amount, but in 20 rakats, to make it easier. And maybe later on, it was even this 20 rakats was long, so they made it 36. But it takes the same time, the same amount of recitation and everything. So there's no contradiction. So going back to Imam Malik, he said, this is what I found my people doing it. He found and his teacher told him that this is what the people of Medina used to do. Maybe they have done this in the time of Umar, or short after the time of Umar, maybe in the time of Uthman, or maybe after this. But again, all this debate about the number is nonsense. You do what's convenient for you. You do what's convenient for the community. And I remember well, back in Egypt, in some masajid, they pray maybe in everything in 20 minutes, you are done. 8 rakats, 3 witr, alhamdulillah. And other masajid, they read 1 juz every night. So comparing, relatively, this 1 juz is very long. Comparing to 20 minutes, you take an hour and a half, you know. But you have the option. If you want to pray fast, here's this, you pray to this mosque. If you want to take longer, go to that mosque. And very, very few mosques or people who want to follow the sunnah of the Prophet, they literally pray from Isha until right before Fajr. You have barely enough time to eat something for suhoor. Very, very few masajid that people want to go back to the original sunnah of the Prophet. So, for Imam Malik, when he received a narration that the people of Medina don't do, then he would not accept this. To him, this is a sign this hadith is da'if. Another example of as-salah al-qabr. You will find this statement in the book of Muwatta Malik. وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ الْعَمَلِ وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ الْعَمَلِ. The amal, the practice of the people of Medina is not according to this. If someone missed a janazah, if you missed the janazah prayer, right, can you go and do the salatul janazah at the grave? There are a number of hadith. The Prophet ﷺ did this. When he asked one day about this woman who used to volunteer clean the masjid. She comes just volunteering, cleaning the masjid and making sure it's clean. And old, poor, black woman, nobody knows anything about her. So one day the Prophet ﷺ asked what he missed her. Where is this one? I don't see her. Ya Rasulullah, she passed away. And he said, why didn't you inform me about this? Look at how kind and nice Rasulullah was. She's not from a very big family, not a big tribe. Maybe she was a former slave. Very low class, to use our modern sociological terminology. She was so insignificant. They did not inform the Prophet about this. No. And Rasulullah said, why didn't you inform me? Show me his grave. They took him sallallahu to his grave, to her grave, and he did salatul janazah on her grave. And there are other number of ahadith. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said that I narrate 6 ahadith. All of them are sound ahadith. And Imam Ibn Rushd said, as-salatu al-qabri thabitun bittifaq min ashab al-hadith. All people of hadith, they agree that salah at the grave has been done in the time of the Prophet and Sahaba. So this is something for us to know. If you miss the janazah of someone, you were out of town and someone passed away, you go to his grave and say Allahu Akbar 4 times and pray Salatul Janazah, according to all these scholars. But Imam Malik said, no, I've never seen anybody doing this in Medina. The ulama of Medina didn't do it, the people of Medina did not do it. So that's why he did not give fatwa. If you ask a Hanafi, a Maliki Imam, I missed the janazah of my father, I was out of town, can I go and do the Salatul Janazah? He said, no. He will not give you the dalil, of course, unless you ask for it. Right? And why is that? Why is that? Because the amal, the practice of the people of Al-Madinah goes against this. And of course, Al-Ijma', we talked about Al-Ijma' before. Al-Qiyas, also we talked about Al-Qiyas, and Imam Malik also follows Al-Qiyas. However, he was very cautious when he uses Qiyas, and he said, whoever exaggerates in using Qiyas, eventually will totally get out of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Istihsan, we talked about Istihsan when we talked about Imam Abu Hanifa. And what's unique about the concept of istihsan or preference? And istihsan technically means not to be consistent with your qiyas, with your analogy. Because analogy, if you are consistent with analogy, this would impose a lot of difficulties on people. And this is the case with any legal system, by the way. Because you cannot be consistent with any legal system. If you have law and you apply this law consistently, then you produce, very absurd rules. So for any law to reconcile the law with the change of the social norm, you have to make change. And the fuqaha were very, very aware of this. I want you to pay attention to this. Very important for us to understand how dynamic our fiqh is. Yes, we all like to follow the Quran and the Sunnah, but sometimes because time change, circumstances change, then if you want to apply some of the rules of the Quran and the Sunnah, you'll be in big trouble. And please don't rush to make any judgment against me now. I'll explain to you. Law is ideas or opinions or thoughts that we think would apply in a normal situation. But the reality is not normal. We have always exceptions. There are always exceptions. The best example, to give you an example, how to reconcile what's going on the ground and what's in the books of fiqh or the books of law, even including Islamic law. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said you cannot do this and you cannot eat dead animals or pork or blood or animal sacrifice for other gods. But now you are striving. You are starving. You are about to die. And there's no meat except this meat that the cow slaughtered in the name of any god. What should you do? Al-Quran says don't eat it. And now you are dying. What would you do? You better die. Kill yourself. And maybe kill your children because your entire family is starving. Al-Quran clearly said, unless there is a necessity, then you can eat these things. So Al-Quran itself said the law, and he gave the exception that's called necessity. And there's another also situation called nawazil. Nawazil means there's an overwhelming thing happens. When you have plague or you have drought, severe drought, or you have a civil war, abnormal situations. Then the law cannot be consistent here. You cannot be consistent. This is what Umar did. At the time of war, one of the Muslims stole something. And for the law to be consistent, what should be done to this person? Cut off his hand. This is what the Quran says. Right? But this is the normal situation. We are not in a normal situation. If you kill or cut the hand of one of your people, what would happen? In the time of war, you are empowering your enemies. You are weakening your people. He said, no, I'm not going to do it now. Similarly, in the time of drought, there was no food. And someone went to steal something to feed his children, to eat, to survive. And they brought him to Umar. He asked him, why did you? I said, my kids are dying, and I'm going to die. Yes, I did steal this, but he said, no, that's not. The law cannot be consistent here. Would you agree with Umar or disagree with him in this? Al-Quran says, وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيهُمَا. Whether male or female thief, cut off their hand. And Umar said, no, I'm not going to cut his hand, because he did not steal to become rich. He stole this to eat, to survive. Who are you to make an exception to the Quran? Yeah, Quran, we understood. We knew the Quran is the word of Allah through our brain. Right? It is our aql that told us this is from Allah. When you read the Quran, you find out it's from Allah. Who told this from Allah? It's our aql. Right? So Al-Quran came to talk to our aql. So by aql, the objectives of Sharia is to stop people from stealing. And why stealing is a crime? If someone steals to eat, stealing is crime because you are taking the right of someone else to become wealthy. And all these drug dealers and those who, they're not poor, they want to be more wealthy, right? That's why they allow themselves to take the right of others. So Omar said, no, the law cannot be consistent here. Things changed. Things changed. And another very famous example, al-mu'allafati qulubum. Allah said, give zakah to these 7 kind of people. Fuqara, masakin, wal-'amilina 'alayha. Al-mu'allafati qulubum are the people that whom you think they will come to Islam if you give them part of this zakah. They could be very wealthy, very rich, but he's the head of the tribe. And if you give him so much, this will soften his heart and this will lead him to become Muslim. Or at least he will not be your enemy. If you fight, he will not strike you if you're back. He'll be neutral. So to be neutral or to come to Islam, that's a great thing to achieve. Give him part of your zakah. This is what the Quran said, Surah At-Tawbah. At the time of Umar said, no, I'm not going to give these people anything. And they said, what? Al-Quran says give them. He said, yes, Al-Quran said give them. When we are politically weak, we needed their help, but now we are so strong. Islam is very powerful. Why would I give a kafir? I would rather build hospitals or build roads or schools or give the poor. No, I'm not going to give them. If they want to come to Islam, fine. If they don't want to come to Islam, go to hell. I'm not going to give you anything. I will not give you the money of Muslims. And people accused Omar, and especially the Shia community, they don't like Omar because they believe he made his own Sharia. That's not true. Omar applied the law perfectly in his circumstances. No law can be consistent. That's why laws always change. Always change. If you know any law does not change, that's not a good law. And when it comes to the flexibility of Islamic law or the rigidity of Islamic law, it all relies on this understanding. The law cannot be consistent, brothers and sisters. No law can be consistent. No, we're not talking about the fundamentals. We're not talking about salah 5 times a day, ibadat. Ibadat is easy. And the basic mu'amalat, riba is haram. Yeah, riba is haram. But there are also some exceptions for anything. There are always exceptions. Even the kufr and iman. You can't say the word of kufr. You can. And the Sahaba did that. Ammar ibn Yasir did that. They tortured him to say the word of kufr. And he said it. And he cursed the Prophet ﷺ. And he came to the Prophet crying, Ya Rasulullah, I said this and that. How did you find your heart? The Prophet asked. My heart is full of iman, but I said it just because I couldn't take it anymore. He said, no, don't worry. If this happens again, say it again. As long as your heart is full of iman. No law can be consistent. There must be some exceptions. And the problem with Islamic law in the modern time, the big problem with Islamic law is that we are not flexible enough. Not the way we understand Islamic law. We always try to apply the law in all circumstances and all people. Even if you give one fatwa to one person, because he's a strong mu'min, he can take it. Tough fatwa. But someone who just became Muslim yesterday, barely, walking to Islam, and just give him another fatwa. And by doing that, you are applying the Islamic law correctly. But if you give one fatwa to all people, yeah, that's a bad idea. That's the source of our suffering. So we talked about al-qiyas and al-istihsan, and istihsan is not to be consistent with the law, basically. And we gave the example last time. Do you remember the example we gave for istihsan? When the qiyas would be tough. You remember? I gave an old example and classic example and modern example. The bathroom, the hammam, not the bathroom. Oh yeah, it's a bathroom. Yeah. The literal meaning of the bathroom is just take a bath. It's a general open place owned by someone. You go, take a shower, use the water, use the soap or shampoo and towels and things and come. But qiyas suggests that this is haram. You pay a fixed amount of money, but we don't know how much water you'll use, how much time you'll spend there, how many towels you'll need, and so on. According to the Nahi, the Prophet said, this is gharar. Gharar means this ignorance, this jahala, this unknown business. You pay a fixed amount of money, but you take unknown amount of water and time and towels and space and so on. And the modern example is the open buffet, right? You pay $10 and you eat what you can. According to the Prophet said, Naha an bay' al-ghar. This is bay' al-ghar. According to the qiyas, this applies to the kind of bay' al-ghar that happens in the old days. When someone says that give me this amount of money and I will go and fish for you. Whatever fish I will get, it's yours. How many fish you get? How many pounds of fish? I don't know. That's haram. Qiyas says to use this bathroom, you know, have you used the Turkish hammam before? It's beautiful. I like it. If you go to Istanbul, I would recommend go to one of these Turkish hammam. The guy will beat you on your back very badly, but he's friendly. It's nice and do a very tough massage. That's not torture, that's the tradition. Okay, you don't know how much time you'll spend there. So according to Qiyas, this is haram because you don't know. There's something unknown here. But he found out that said, I will ignore my Qiyas now. Should leave the Qiyas. The ulama said that's either urf, leaving Qiyas for urf, or leaving Qiyas for istihsan. Al-Masalih al-Mursala. Al-Madhab al-Maliki is considered one of the most flexible madhahib because of these mechanisms using istihsan, qiyas, and now al-Masalah al-Mursala. Masalih al-Mursala, the public interest, not the specific people's interest. The public interest, the maslaha or the benefit is either mentioned in the Quran. Quran said this is benefit for you, this benefit for you. Do this because of these benefits. Okay? So this is called maslaha mu'tabara. And this is maslaha muhmala. Maslaha is benefit, but these benefits are ignored by Sharia. Like doing riba. You give loan and you take, this is a benefit. It benefits you, right? And many of the ma'asi or sins, including, you know, the business of selling alcohol, there are benefits in it. Prostitution, you know, it's benefit. You enjoy your time, they get paid. There is benefit in both sides. But this benefit is ignored by Sharia. Okay, because of, you know, the known reasons for that. So there are masalih affirmed by Sharia, you know, to get married and to have children and to do business, and to increase your wealth. These all are masalih considered by Sharia, and there are masalih or benefits ignored by Sharia. And in between there is something the Sharia did not say anything about. And this is called masalih mursala. It is unspoken of, right? Al-Imam al-Madhab al-Maliki is one of the leading madhab in considering maslaha mursala. There's no Quran, there's no hadith, there's no fatwa of Sahaba, there's no ijma', there's no amal of people, but this is maslaha. So give fatwa based on this maslaha. And I'm actually promoting or advocating, following the Maliki madhab in this particular issue. Follow istihsan, because the kind of world we are living in today is very, very different from the time of the madhahib. But we need to use these mechanisms. I'll give you an example. Now, in America here, we don't write, or some people don't like to register their marriage in the county. They come to me, many other imams, Imam, we want to get married Sharia way. So did you get the marriage license from the county? No. We don't want to do it the legal way. We want to do it Islamic way. And I also the Islamic way is to get it the legal way. This is what why? This is a maslaha. Based on what? Why are you creating a new Islam? Islam says you have shuhud, you have the wali is here, there are witnesses here, we both like each other, we want to get married. No, but based on the maslaha, what happens next? When he enjoys his life with her, have a child, and then he runs away. He goes back to his original country. And this lady is poor, she has a child, she has no right whatsoever. There's no alimony, there's no maintenance, there's no child support, there's nothing. Nothing. And he sold his house, took his money, transferred his money back there, and he's enjoying his life with another wife there, and she's suffering. So based on the maslaha, actually in Iran, this issue came up recently in the modern time, because in Iran, up until recent time, there was no registration of marriage. This idea of having a ma'dhoon or an imam or writing, or a lawyer or a judge writing and registering this marriage with the government. There was no such a thing. It's a bid'ah. No, that's not bid'ah. That's maslaha. So in the time of divorce, you are preserving the right of the woman, the right of the man, the right of the children. Because people say, no, I've never married her. No, that was not marriage. That was just an affair. How can you prove this marriage? In Michigan here, this and most of the states, I think 17 states, they don't recognize unregistered marriage. It's not, you go to the court, you want to divorce your husband or your wife and claim the right. No, 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 get out of here. The judge will say, well, are you married? Yes. Where did you marry? In IHD with Imam so and so. No, you go to your Imam, he'll fix your problems to you. He married you, and I'm not kidding, this is the case. That's not regular. So it is maslaha to do this. This is maslaha, right? And the study of al-masalih al-mursala is one of the most important to me, because there are so many things filled in this area, masalih. There's maslaha there. So how do we know of this maslaha? We know by the practice, by the experience, right? It's not appropriate to give fatwa based on a maslaha of few number of people. You know, the maslaha must be general, not specific, right? Of course, it should not contradict the Quran, obviously, or the Sunnah of the Prophet, and so on. Sadd al-dhara'i, I will end with this. Sadd al-dhara'i is another technical means that some fuqaha accepts. But Imam Malik also, as he was very generous in using the masalih al-mursala, he was also very generous in using sadd al-dhara'i. And to him, sadd al-dhara'i is part of maslaha, by the way. What is sadd al-dhara'i? Sadd al-dhara'i basically means you block the means. Something is halal of itself, but it would definitely lead to haram. This halal thing becomes haram itself. Okay? You want to block these means. If you know that you will have men and women in one place, this would definitely lead to haram things, separate them, if you know that. Sadd lil-dhara'i. But if you know that there are religious people coming to attend a religious lecture in a masjid, in Ramadan, this happens actually. You know, no, you have to separate men from women. Yeah, they are in Ramadan, after Asr, sitting in a meeting like this. And they're listening to a religious lecture and the presence of righteous people. So there's no dhara'i. But if you know, like young students, immature, and this is like private place in a camp, and most likely if they stay together, something bad will happen. So this kind of camp will become haram according to Imam Malik. Why? Camping is not haram. Yes, camping is not haram. But given these circumstances, it's most likely it will lead to haram. If you know that something would likely lead to haram, this halal thing also takes the same rulings. I will stop here, inshallah, and again, just to end this, Imam Malik, rahimahullah, his main madhab came from authenticating the hadith. When he knows it is authentic, he will take it, and as we mentioned yesterday, all ulama, whether of fiqh or hadith or history, they all in agreement that the book of Al-Muwatta is considered, according to Imam Shafi'i and others, is considered the most authentic and the first book ever written in Islam and the most accurate one after the Quran. And all the hadith there mentioned is very, very authentic. And Imam Malik, if he had any doubt in any hadith, he would just reject all of it. And he uses Al-Quran and the Sunnah, of course, and he uses Qiyas, and he uses Maslaha and Maslaha Al-Mursala, he uses Istihsan and Sadd al-Dhara'i, and something called Istishab also. Very briefly, Istishab means considering the original state of a thing. Yeah, everything is as it is unless it's proven it has changed. So, but with these plenty of mechanisms or legal mechanisms, you can say that Imam Malik's madhab was one of the very flexible madhab that changed at the time and give the faqih these tools. The more tools you have, legal tools, the more options you will have, and more you can make things easier on people. Because if you have istihsan or qiyas or maslaha, you can give fatwa based on all of these things. And if the fuqaha understand these mechanisms and the Imam and the students of knowledge understand these mechanisms, our life would have been much easier. We are doing things, honestly, I'm not going to name anything, but many things we Muslims, and American Muslims in particular, are practicing unnecessarily difficult and tough. And this may explain why 80% of American Muslims don't come to any masjid. I will stop here, inshallah, and if you have any questions, inshallah, we'll take it now. I told you it will be boring, obviously. Yes? No, outside, let's keep outside questions later. If you have any related questions first, and then we'll take the outside questions. If there's no questions, we'll take these.
This last one that you mentioned, if I got the term already, that could be slippery slope. Is that why, for example, the Saudis will not allow the women to drive?
That's why the Saudis did not allow women to drive, because sadd al-dhara'i. But the Saudis, they went even further. They went so much ahead by saying driving in of itself is haram. They did not say driving is halal, but because it can lead to this and that, it's haram. Said no, 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 no. They are saying driving in of itself is haram. This is a big difference. Yes, Saudis in general, they are using sadd al-dhara'i. And some fuqaha, actually modern fuqaha, are saying we now to use opening dhara'i. Wallah al-azim, because if you exaggerate in anything, that would lead to disasters. So they are saying we need to open dhara'i. Everything, no. Because if you think this way, if you are obsessed with this mentality, women cannot come to the masjid. Right? You cannot go to the mall. You cannot take your school to public school. You cannot, your children to public school. You cannot do everything. If you think so much with sadd al-dhara'i, that's why everything is haram in Saudi Arabia and somewhere in India, with some Indian scholars mentality, everything is haram. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. Well, we are really making our religion so difficult. And why don't we change? Because we don't like to change. Because we want to be a good Muslim. And to be a good Muslim, you have to follow the most difficult fatwas. And this is a sign of taqwa. Wrong. This is not a sign of taqwa. This is a sign of ignorance, with all due respect to everybody. Following strict opinions is not a sign of taqwa, a sign of ignorance. Because Rasulullah ﷺ, when he had the option, if you have a choice, he always chooses the easy thing. As long as, of course, it does not contradict with Sharia. We are doing the opposite. We are always choosing the difficult things. Why? Because we have to have taqwa, to preserve our identity. We want to be a good Muslim. I want to be in the safe side. If you really want to be in the safe side, you should not come to this country. What's your question? Why?
I don't know. I fought against it. I said that
by donating this money on his behalf. No, that's not part of our Sharia. That's not correct. That's not correct. Again, two opinions. Those who followed the hadith that Imam Malik did not follow. Those who followed the two hadith, all right? من صام من مات عليه صوم فليصم عنه وليه أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the wali should fast. And the other hadith, a woman came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, my mother passed away and there are some days that she did not do. Should I fast on her behalf? He said yes, because the debt of Allah subhanahu, that debt is due to Allah has more right to be paid off than the debt you owe to people. All right, so it's very obvious, right? But Imam Malik said no. According to Imam Malik, no, you don't fast on his behalf. According to other ulama who took this hadith, they said yes, his son, his daughter, his cousin, his father, his mother, anybody who would fast on his behalf, that would be sufficient.
So except Salah?
No, Salah, obviously, no. You cannot fast on behalf of someone. Yes, yes. Now we understand why the ulama have different opinions. All right? It's not just for the sake of everybody wants to follow his opinion. It's because they have a methodology and they just try to follow their manhaj. Yes? Yeah, we made dua for him.
For somebody who passed away.
Yeah, if someone passed away in general, we should make plenty of dua for them, but we don't make up for this salah. Yes.
Can we have any class later for many things we have made upon ourselves very strict based on the very strict rules. So if you list out some things which we have
the object is to follow, and the brother is saying, can you make a list of the things that unnecessarily is so difficult and we should change it? See, as a scholar myself, I'm writing my thesis on this. When I finish my PhD, I will share it with you. He's saying that, can you mention the things that were unnecessarily difficult? Yes. So these things are known, akhi. Yani, when we have these great madhahib, can we, because we believe all of them are humans, this is their human effort, could be right, could be wrong, and they were proven wrong in many things, but they did their best. And Rasulullah said, when the mujtahid make ijtihad and reach the right conclusion, he got two rewards. But even the qualified mujtahid make ijtihad and the ijtihad was wrong, he'll get one reward. What does this mean? It means that Rasulullah wants us not to be scared as the fuqaha and as the ulama to reach a conclusion. Even if you're wrong, you're safe, don't worry. But make ijtihad, because we have to make ijtihad all the time. If we stop making ijtihad, then our deen will be very difficult. And this is exactly what it is from the 4th century until now. Very, very few people made ijtihad, or just taqleed, what the book says. Okay, if you're Hanafi, read this Bahr al-Ra'iq, and the book says that. Follow it. But akhi, this was written in the 10th century, Common Era, and the 4th century after Hijrah. Why are you treating this book like the Quran? If it's proven difficult, that's why the ulama said, istihsan, no, I have to change my qiyas. Based on qiyas, it's haram, but it will be very difficult on people. And this again is the spirit of Sharia. I will ignore my qiyas, I will allow this treatment to happen. Why? Because Islam is easy and came to make the life of the people easy. And the fuqaha recognize this. No law can be consistent. And we turn the Hanafi books and the Shafi'i books and Malik books into Quran and must be consistent until the day of judgment. That's why we're suffering. That's why we're suffering. And we don't have the courage to say, oh, we love Imam Malik, we love Imam Abu Hanifa, we pray for them. They are great Imams. But they're humans. We need to understand their methodology, and we need to use their methodology. But we're not doing that. We are following their opinions. Forget about the method. What did the Imam say? The Imam said, it's haram to do this, khalas. You don't have to study it. But to be able to reproduce opinions, because this is what we need to do all the time. We are living in a very different and very difficult world. And if these great 4 Imams, wallahi, are alive today, they would need to spend so much time understand what's going on before we give a fatwa. But we're not doing that. We're taking their fatwas and apply it every time and every place. What's the solution? Should we ignore them or follow them blindly? We should not do either. We should understand the way of thinking. And if we use this methodology to our reality, we'll find out why. Based on Malik thinking process, this should be the case. We should not do this, we should do that. Based on Abu Hanifa's ways of thinking, he would have reached this conclusion today. But we are the concept of taqleed, following. This is what the madhab says. And by the way, you are Hanafi, you cannot be Shafi'i. Wrong. Very false statement. Wrong, totally wrong. Because a layman has no madhab. It's only the scholars within the madhab. If you are a scholar of, if I claim that I today represent the Shafi'i madhab, I have to be honest and sincere. When you ask me a question, I have to be sincere to my madhab. Because I studied the madhab when I'm 6 years old, and now I represent the Shafi'i madhab here. This is an amana now. If you ask me as a Shafi'i, I will tell you this is what you need to do according to our madhab. If I'm Maliki, I'll do the same. If I'm Hanafi, I'll do the same. But today we cannot afford, as lay people, all of us, okay? We cannot be consistent with one madhab. We cannot be. We cannot be. And by the way, we don't do that. We are not Hanafi all the time. Just look around and find out that you are doing plenty of things not according to Hanafi madhab. And there are plenty of Hanafi madhab you will never ever accept. Say, no. I thought I'm Hanafi, I respect Imam, but in this I will totally disagree with Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa's opinion, a non-Arab man cannot marry an Arab woman. Would you agree with Abu Hanifa on this? This is what we call racism today. Right? But this is opinion. And no Hanafi Imam will tell you this. You cannot be consistent with everything Abu Hanifa said. You cannot be consistent with everything Abu Malik said. You cannot be consistent with everything Ash-Shafi'i said. You cannot simply. Because they're humans, they give fatwas based on their understanding, on their urf, and they're humans. Yes. We love their madhab. If you're a student of knowledge, it's a different story. If you want to be a scholar, then you go to a Hanafi scholar, know the methodology of Abu Hanifa, know the opinions of the Hanafi scholars, and you'll become a good Hanafi Imam. But here in the North, and that's good for a village in India or in Africa or Middle East. That's enough. People ask you about Tahara, Najasa, Ibadat, that does not make a big difference. But living in the United States of America, with all these different systems, different economical system, different social system, different legal system, different political system, you are minority. All these books of fiqh were written when Muslims were majority. Now we're living in a totally, profoundly different world, people. We need to benefit from all these madhahib and said, in this mas'ala, we'll follow Imam Malik. He's the best in this. But in this mas'ala, Imam Malik's opinion is very inconvenient for us. We'll follow Abu Hanifa in this. And this is, by the way, this is what the Maliki and Hanafi and Shafi'i scholars said. Great scholars, Ibn al-Arabi. Ibn al-Arabi said, he's the head, he's the representative of Imam Malik in the 6th century. And he said, in this mas'ala, the mas'ala of zakatul Zurua, when the rain comes naturally, and you have a garden, you don't dig tunnels or rivers, creeks. You don't do anything. The rain comes, and you have to give ushr, 1/10. Imam Malik said no. 10% or 5%. So Al-Imam Ibn al-Arabi said, وَأَمَّا أَبُو حَنِيفَةَ فَوَضَعَ الْآيَةَ نُصْبَ عَيْنِهِ فَأَبْصَرَ الْحَقِّ. Abu Hanifa put the ayah in front of his eyes, and his opinion is more right than my Imam Malik. So he followed Abu Hanifa in this. Because to him, the opinion of Abu Hanifa is stronger, the dalil is stronger. So he ignored his Imam's opinion. And he followed Abu Hanifa. So I'm not suggesting someone say, oh, no, you want to make Islam to follow the easy opinions everywhere. No, that's not the case. It's not the case. It should be easy, it should also be authentic. I'm not saying we should ignore the Quran, the Sunnah, we just do everything easy and khalas. No, that's not what I'm talking about. We have to keep the balance between following the Quran and the Sunnah and understanding our reality. Okay? And we have to make our own mind based on what we see. But what happened, we are in a state of denial. We deny our time and our place and our circumstances. We just want to live and end up living in ghettos. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ونبيك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.